Hey, and welcome to episode 25 of Creative Dynamos. Today I've got with me longtime friend back to our college days, Gordon Duncan. Gordon is a public speaker, podcaster, an author, former pastor, former whole bunch of stuff. We'll get into that. And just a coach and all kinds of things. Gordon, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm really glad you and I are face to face. It's funny. We've been friends since, I don't know, 90, 91.
Yeah.
Well, we don't ever get to bump into each other. So it's great to see you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. I was just telling you before we hit record that you are one of these examples of why this podcast exists. I just found out, friends, that Gordon has 4 podcasts. So before we get into what you're doing now, talk to me a little bit about your journey from being a pastor to being a writer, and a coach, and a podcaster. How do you get from there to here?
I appreciate that. I started out as a high school English teacher. It's what I graduated East Carolina with. And I taught high school at an alternative school. To get to me, you had to be expelled. So we were sort of a halfway home between high school and juvenile prison. It was a really formative time for me. I loved it. And I did that for about 4 years. We wound up moving to Raleigh, North Carolina, and I couldn't find a similar teaching situation. So I just hopped right into sales. Oddly enough, I was offered a sales position and enjoyed it. Was there for a couple of years, but the company expanded and was failing. So then, oddly enough, jumped into managing an eye doctor's office and did that for several years. And then I made the fateful decision. I did something I swore I would never do, and I started seminary. So that launched my entrepreneurial journey because you had to find some way to live. So I started consulting with eye doctors, oddly enough. So then I had a dual role for about 20 years where I was a pastor, but I also had a second job because I was a church planter, and church planters move into a town, start a church. So it doesn't mean you typically have like a base salary. So eye doctor consulting turned into medical consulting, which turned into marketing. Eventually, my family and I moved here to Virginia. And I planted another church, continued marketing and consulting. And in 2000, I retired after 20 years of ministry and went full-time into marketing, consulting, and coaching. Now, the publishing journey started way back when it just was a new thing, like 2012, I believe it was, back before KDP. There was a little website called CreateSpace.
Oh, yeah.
And you could publish on CreateSpace, and it would go over to Amazon. So I published a collection of blogs. And then I've been publishing since then, and now we help people publish. So I've published everything from spiritual writings to business writings. Now I'm doing a little bit of personal growth writing. It's been a fun journey, but there's a lot of twists and turns in there. But that's basically how I got from college to where I am now. And so now I own a marketing and consulting company. So we do full-scale marketing, we coach marketing, and then a couple of years ago, I finally launched my first personal program, just kind of reacting off of just what's been going on for me the last 20 years. I want to start impacting people personally.
So you literally can't swing a dead cat without hitting a life coach, a marketing guru, a whatever you want to call it on the internet these days. What differentiates you from your typical one of those?
Yeah, it's a great question. I was hesitant for the last year to even mention the program because everyone in the world went and got a 2-week program and declared himself a life coach. So you're right. So first of all, on the marketing coaching side, very easy to differentiate. I teach you to market, and I work with you to make your money back. And so I teach marketing skills. That one's very easy to find a differentiating factor for you. Like I have an online program, and I walk it through and teach people to actively market and make money. The personal program, like I said, I was so hesitant to even declare anything about it because there's a million of them. So what's different is my experience. 20 years of teaching and counseling, so I actually have real training behind it. I went and got certification from John Maxwell and Grant Cardone, Go High Level. I got those. But more than anything else, I have a real journey that I want to share with people. And that's my journey spiritually, I'm an epilepsy fighter, so I've got a physical journey. I felt like I actually had credentials both to teach and in life to actually say, hey, I can help you get to this point. So in terms of the personal program, we take it in two different ways. I have an online 90-day program where you work through a video every single day and I meet with you, or I custom design a program for you. Those are called therapeutic conversations. I think the biggest difference is life experience and actual credentials. You know, if you see a person and their life's an absolute wreck and they don't have much of an experience to speak of, but they're a licensed coach, I just don't find any attraction to that. So that's why I waited until I was 53 to actually launch a program. So I'm 55 now. So that's the differentiator. And I'm doing everything I can to lean more into that this year. Operate as a true CEO on the marketing side with a team. Let them do the handling of that. I want to be a coach on the CEO side of capitalize, and then I want to lean more into the personal side because I find a lot of joy with it, and I'm seeing people have an impact with it.
That's awesome. I can definitely testify to the person behind the products that you're offering. You know, because like I said, folks, I've been for Doug. I've been Gordon for a long time. I know him so well that I call him by his last name.
I get a lot of that. It's okay.
I've known Gordon a long time, watched his journey. And yeah, it's been an amazing thing to watch. What constantly amazes me though is the amount of energy that you have. You're a runner. I don't know if you're still doing marathons or not.
Yeah, a couple of years.
You produce these books, you produce these podcasts, you're doing the marketing, personal growth coaching. Where do you get the energy from to do all of these things?
Well, I get it.
And you're a father and a husband on top of all this, I should add.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Well, one, I mean, I've always been a little bit of a high energy person, but I began suffering seizures when I was 42. And that was a combination of brain injuries and traumatic events when I lost both my parents within a 4-month period. I went through a season between 42 and 45 where really my brain was broken. I was on a bunch of seizure meds, felt like I was losing everything. Once we found some seizure meds that helped lower the ceiling, I still have them, but lowering the effect, I went on a journey that not many people get to go on, where I just had to rebuild my brain, body, and life. It was learning how to think again. I literally had to put the cognition tools in there. I had been a runner before, but I wanted to regain my running. It's transformation of diet. And all of a sudden, I found a newfound energy and drive. Now, there's a couple of things there. The seizure meds I take are massive depressants. Their goal is to slow my brain and body down. And so the endurance running, which I love, counters those effects. So it increases my metabolism, increases brain activity. My neurologist has told me that I'm a rare case, but if I ever stop endurance running, the meds might win. Now, thankfully, I love it. Like I really do. I mean, I really do. I love the running. I love the challenging of myself. I'm very strict about my diet. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've had the sweets this holiday, but I have a pretty strict dietary plan that feeds my brain and my energy. Sleep is priority. And those things all feed and kind of make me who I am. The other part of it is you decide to retire at 50 and start a brand new career. I don't get much of it. I don't get the option to take it off. You know, I mean, I'm trying to rebuild a life, usually when people are trying to slow down. So I'm married to Amy and I've got 3 daughters. So I've got a lot of intrinsic motivation. Don't get me wrong. I have my days where it's like, what am I, again today? But that's the combination, sort of who I was naturally, but rebuilding it from the ground up. It's a pretty terrifying experience. And then, while I have it now, I just really want to take advantage of it because I don't want to consider what might happen in the future. I just want to rebuild it now and make sure I continue with the momentum I have.
And I guess that's the thing, can't stop, won't stop.
Right. Yeah. It's easier to maintain momentum than it is to create, always.
Yeah. That's my own struggle has been for various reasons. There have been stoppages in my life and it's been hard to rebuild that momentum that at various points. And so, yeah, I'm in the process now of sort of rebuilding some of that momentum. And I find that like creative outlets like this podcast give me some of that energy and that drive, knowing that I'm going to be talking to people like you, knowing that I've got this on my schedule. There's an expectation, building an audience, reaching out to new folks, telling people about the podcast. That scratches an itch for me that writing doesn't. And it has its own momentum. It has its own energy that writing.
Well, it's true that, I mean, some of the things that we know work just work, and it's really hard sometimes for us to make this. Like, we know that being around creative people, like what you're doing with this podcast, is going to ignite creativity. At the base level, we know that hydration, lack of sugar, writing our goals down is going to work, but it's hard to do it every day. We know that movement, so either we're going to have to create the momentum, get someone to help us accountability to do it, or we're going to have to just continue to be disappointed in the results. And I went through that journey of being disappointed, and I just don't want to do it again. Don't get me wrong, I've had tons of peaks and valleys, but I think what you're doing here is the right thing. Put yourself in front of creative people, and it ignites creativity. It really does.
And the question I often ask myself when I get to a point where I'm not creating something, or I've hit kind of the slump, is, do I want to be a creator or do I want to be a consumer? And I mean, obviously there's nothing wrong with being a consumer. We need readers, we need podcast listeners, but I'm a creative person. I need to create. And I consume too, but don't want my primary function in this life to be that of a creator or a consumer, which gives me more joy. And for me, it's creating. So keeping that in front of me helps a lot. What is there something like that for you? Question to ask yourself, or
I think it's a great way to look at it, because you're rooting your momentum and identity, and that's always a motivating factor. Like, you're wrestling with it. You're like, hey, this is who I am. And if I'm doing these other things, it's counter to who I want to be and who I presently am. For me, my creativity is boringly built into discipline. And so I know that marketing my company and my program is going to require massive amounts of social media content. I have that built in. Like, I have it. I know when I'm doing it. Like, some of those things are just, they're non-negotiable. My wife knows that my main podcast is going to get recorded every single Saturday morning. And that's just, she's not surprised by that. The other ones, literally, I just create during my day. And my main one, Monday, is called This Is Gonna Hurt. We're getting ready to hit 600 episodes. That one I've just done every single Monday for, 6-7 years. But I think the bigger thing is that, counter to a lot of folks, creativity for me is discipline. I mean, when I work with in my marketing side and people tell me they don't know how to do it, I just tell them, you're going to starve if you live on the street corner of inspiration. When it just doesn't work. When you look at guys like Stephen King, or you look at John Maxwell, they write every day.
Yeah.
That's what they do, because that's who they are. And they're not worried about whether they're writing the best thing in the world that day. They write every day. That's what editing's for. So for me, I don't wait for inspiration. When I have the time to do it, I just do it. I create what I can create. Some of the stuff I put out is fine. It's not great. If I publish, I'm happy with it. But in terms of like the creativity of content and marketing, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. I'm just not worried about it. That's who I am. But for me, my creativity is really rooted in discipline. That's the best way for me to make sure I'm being creative.
And I think that's something that I try to keep in mind too, is like, what works for one person is not necessarily going to work for the other person. But I think discipline is important, even if that's not, in my case, primary thing. Is that's something I struggle with a lot, is that discipline, is that sitting down at the keyboard every day, putting down, even if it's just 500 words, which for me that's 15 minutes.
Yes.
That's not much time invested. But if I could do that every day, if my listeners who are writers, if you can do that every day, day in, day out, that's 2 novels a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
18 minutes a day is 100 hours a year. 100 hours. That's insane. When we think about it in that reality, we almost have to get a calculator out to make sure that's true. But if 18 minutes a day is 100 hours, we will be massively creative people. If we do that year in, year out, I think we'll be successful people. I mean, when I work with my authors, I tell them, listen, writers write, but authors publish. And so you're not going to get to the publishing side if you're not writing. And you know this, I mean, some folks will spend a lifetime on a 300-page book and never do anything else again because we're not, most folks are not making a living off their writing. So I'm working with an authors group in Raleigh. I'm doing a Zoom with them next week, and their frustration is revenue. I'm like, there's sneaky ways to make 50 and $100 here, but more than likely you're going to have to publish for creativity's sake and market like heck, and then see what happens from there. But creativity demands creativity to fuel it continually.
And part of that marketing is getting out in front of people. Like this year has been incredible in terms of me getting out in front of people. I was looking at the numbers this year, and while monetarily it has not been the amount of books that I have put in people's hands has been worth it, because I have done so many in-person events this year, and that's where I've moved the most books.
Good.
Getting out in front of people, however you do that, whether that's social media, in-person events, whatever, that's how you're going to put books in people's hands. That's how you're going to put albums in people's hands, if that's your thing, or whatever it is. Putting yourself out there and doing it in creative ways. That's the thing that we forget about as creators. Like, that marketing is just another way to express yourself creatively.
Yeah. I mean, when I work with my folks, the formula is simple. It's hard, but it's simple. Is massive amounts of content solving someone's problem equals revenue. The same thing for writing. When I pique someone's interest with one of my books, I've solved their problem. They're looking for something to read, or they're looking for a specific solution, and they see my book as that. They will not find me without massive amounts of content. But when I put the two together, then revenue occurs. And a lot of folks will say, well, I'm more interested in quality over quantity. And I say, just do both. You might be fortunate enough to put out the most amazing quality piece of social media content and be found by the masses. More than likely, you won't be. We don't win the lottery in marketing. Very few people do. So lots of content, speak to someone's issue, solve it. They're going to give you revenue in return.
And if you only put out the one great piece of content, what are you going to follow that up with?
And so it's just telling ourselves it's okay for me to put out average content because we're average people. And then we're going to put out some really great content at times. It's going to resonate. That's what we've got to work through. We got to work through the struggle of like, not a whole lot of people responded to this. I thought it was fantastic. So I wrote an article on LinkedIn the other day. I just really thought it was phenomenal. I don't know. I think 14 people read it. It just happens. It just does.
So as somebody who's been publishing their own stuff for, 2012, 13 years.
Yeah, 13, I don't know, some 13 years.
Obviously, the marketing part's easy for you. That's your thing. What's been the biggest struggle for you in getting your stuff out there?
I think it's just finding new people. I mean, I've got email lists. I've got a social media platform. I think the people who are in my circle know I publish regularly. But the bigger part is we've just got to get in front of new people. I think my most recent book, I've written a 365 daily reader. I've spent 10 years collecting notes on this. It's probably the thing I'm most proud of. But even in that, new people are going to have to see it. My goal on that is to make a real impact with it, more so than just kind of entertaining. But that's after a while, new people have just got to see it. So my circle knows that I write, I publish, they know it's out, just get in front of new people. But that comes down to growing your social media platforms, gaining new emails, and just being relentless about it. So the good thing is this book's evergreen. I can sell it all year long. It can make an impact. You don't have to wait till January 1st. But that kind of thing is just the patience of finding new people. Because after a while, at best, we post something on Facebook, 14% of the people we have, maybe 11 actually see the post, maybe. So if you tell me you got 1,000 followers, great. Maybe 100 people saw what you just posted. And they're worn out. So you just got to keep going. So the bigger thing is just continuing to find new audiences. And for that, you've got to find new platforms as well.
Yep. I'm working on trying to build a new platform, build myself out on a new platform called Vocal. And it's an interesting approach to publishing prose or poetry for that matter. They reward you monetarily based on reads, and it's a pretty interesting ecosystem. I've posted some short stories there. Each thing that you publish there apparently gets vetted before it gets published. I don't know what vetting looks like, but I do know that, the first couple of things I posted there took a while before they actually showed up. So somebody looked at them.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, for whatever that means. And yeah, I strongly recommend people go look at it. It's vocal.media, I believe is the URL. So
fantastic. I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's fiction, nonfiction, poetry, all kinds of content out there. But yeah, anytime that you move from something to say like a Substack, which I got super fortunate that one of my notes on Substack went viral. I got a bunch of followers
Good for you.
right away. But like you said, you've got like the percentage of followers, and then you got the percentage of people that actually see what you post,
right.
And the percentage of people that actually read and comment. That percentage gets smaller as the funnel goes down. Converting flipping those readers into buyers or, consumers, however you want to phrase that, is a challenge.
Always, you can do platforms like Patreon, you can do Substack, School, Go High Level. I mean, they all provide private communities. You can even do it just through a Facebook group, but actually converting that into reads and revenue, that's always going to be the challenge. And so, but part of that is, I think, absolutely necessary right now, because it's just very easy to get lost on larger social media platforms. So I think creating private communities, again, if you're going to have a private community, you got to feed them. So then that becomes the other aspect of it. So if we're going to be creative, we live in an age where we have to be constantly creative. It's just the nature of consumer intake of information at this point in time.
For sure. So I referenced earlier your 4 podcasts. You talked about This Is Gonna Hurt, your longest running podcast. Run me down each of the 4 podcasts.
Okay.
Or create currently.
Well, This Is Gonna Hurt. It's been around, I think, 7 or 8 years. And it's taken a couple of iterations. I changed the format this year. And that one focuses just on personal growth. So I'm going to talk a lot about mindset growth, intellectual growth, relational growth, physical health. I wanted something where the outlet was singular. It used to be faith, family, fitness, finances, and fun. It's just way too broad. And I felt like I was it was a good season to do that. But now it's very personal. So I get to talk about running, and I get to talk about my mindset journey. Yes.
Let me interrupt you there, because you said something that I think is very pertinent, because I joined a Facebook podcaster group recently, and they do a regular post what your genre of podcast is, which I think, and connect with other people who, are doing the same genre, that kind of thing. And one person said, "Oh, I just podcast that crosses." I want you to talk about focus, how important that is.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's very much something that grew out of my marketing coaching. When I tell people in their marketing, if you market to everybody, you get nobody. But if you market to somebody, you get everybody. So I totally believe in target client marketing. I believe in avatars. I mean, it's very much one of the things we coach. And then I found that my podcast was in part a fun personal outlet, which is fine if that was the goal. But as I made the shift to do more personal coaching, I wanted This Is Gonna Hurt to reflect that. So each one of those podcasts have a different target audience. So This Is Gonna Hurt is a personal growth podcast. I don't talk business there anymore. And so it was just me taking my own advice. But then I'm creative and I've also have these other revenue streams. I was like, what am I going to do with it? So to this day is an old podcast that used to be focused on churches. It was called Church Training Partners. I rebranded it to Coach Training Partners because I work with personal coaches. I help people create their own programs. I help them monetize the ones they have. So today's episode is specifically about how do coaches grow their revenue. Wednesday is Capitalize Your Best. That's the theme and the motto of my marketing company. And that one is revenue. That one is marketing and business coaching. And then Fridays, You're Entitled to Your Opinion is just, horror movies, just really kind of left of center kind of stuff that I enjoy doing. So action novels, B movies, just a place for me to have that outlet. But that's where those are. I did create the fun one just because my children, my oldest daughter was really getting on me. She was like, it looks like all your efforts are revenue, revenue, revenue. And I watch a ton of movies. I mean, a ton of movies because I'm in my office. Movies just run in the background constantly. And I thought, well, let me find this outlet. It'll be good for my brain and my health. So that's where it came from. So that's the lineup. On Thursdays, I don't have a podcast. I do a coaching call with my clients on that day. Every Thursday at 11, we do a 30-minute coaching call. And I toured around with the show during that day, but at the moment, I'm wisely just holding off. I know what it would be. I know the name of it. I know what the topic would be. But at the moment, it's just, I'm not launching that. There's too many other things going on right now for me to do that well.
Sure. And so talk to me about margin, because, and by that, I mean, making sure that you have a margin in your life for doing personal things, doing family time. How do you make sure that you have kind of a margin built around you're self-employed? And I know that's got to be tough.
I can work every moment. I can work every single moment of the day. I have one hobby, and that is running. I don't want a bunch of hobbies. I'm not a hunter. I don't collect anything. I'm happy with my one hobby. And so I'm a runner. I run about 2,000 miles a year. I'm a marathon runner, ultra runner. And I, by nature, wake up around 4:00 every day. So if I don't go running, I would just work. So running is what I do. I follow a schedule. I follow a pattern. So that is mostly my personal time. I mean, if I want to learn something, I listen to it on a podcast or audiobooks. Or if I want to do something fun, I take that in. I'm usually on the ground working most days by 7, and I usually work until around 6 because, again, I mean, it's my own business. In that, I eat dinner with my family 3 or 4 days a week at least. My wife recently started working a couple nights in the evening, but up until then, it was almost every night. So I don't neglect that. I mean, if it's just me working and I don't have any meetings or anything, I'm going to come up from the basement at 6:00 every night. We're going to get dinner and I'm going to hang out with Amy. Right now we're empty nesters. My youngest just went to college. She's home right now. That's provided a new level of freedom. But yeah, and then I take either Saturdays or Sundays off. I do my best completely. It's not completely possible. But that's where Amy and I go for walks, get time with each other, go to a winery and that kind of thing. I don't require a lot of downtime. Like just personally sitting and binging a show, I couldn't do it if I had to. I don't have any interest in it. I just feel like it's time set on fire. If that's what people do, I want them to enjoy it. I tell people all the time, you don't have to do what I do. And there's no judgment if you don't. But usually when people say, well, I just don't have time, I'm usually like, you have a ton of time. You have a massive amount of time.
Yes.
I do like the way you mentioned it, Scott. You said, tell me about margin. Because people ask me all the time about balance. And I don't think balance is a thing. I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe there's seasons. And I'm in a season right now where I've got to work a lot to build a business that's going to sustain me and my family for years. So that's where I'm at. But every now and then, Amy got on me this weekend. She's like, I see some edge. I see you getting run down and you're not seeing it. So she really encouraged me to take a few hours to do a little bit less. And I did. And an old school nap for about an hour and a half on Sunday, which I haven't done since I was a preacher. But yeah, that's where it is for me. I mean, my joy is running. It really is. We've got friends that we hang out with on those weekends when we have space. but I don't require a lot of downtime. I really don't. I usually, when I'm down, I'm like, this may sound unhealthy. It's healthy for me. What should I be doing? But when I'm with my family in the evenings, I'm with my family in the evenings. Maybe we're hanging out, having a good dinner, maybe watching a movie or something like that.
And I think that's important. Like when you're with your family, you're present. And I think
That's right. I gotta put the phone down, but you're right. I do my best.
so. Talk to me about glue.
Oh, interesting. You knew about that.
I do my research for my guests.
I have never written fiction. I have not. I've written spiritually, a lot of business, now doing personal growth, but I had the idea of a short story. And like many, it came to me, like the whole story came to me in an instant. And I sat down really in 2 nights. It's not long. It's really not long. I think it's maybe 20 Kindle pages. And I published a little paperback book just to do it, design the cover. I mean, it's a good thing about being a marketer and being able to do all the graphics, everything top to bottom. And with a little fanfare, got it out there and just said, hey, here's your short story. I promoted it on my personal Your Title to Your Opinion podcast and a couple of horror groups I'm in. And I actually have a second one done. You know how that goes. Like all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, there was another one, which I'm just sitting on right now because my focus publishing is marketing to the Daily Reader. But it's a very Stephen King type very tight short story of a revenge nature that was just a lot of fun. But essentially, there's an evil boss and a secretary who suffers under an evil boss. That's as far as I'll go. It's called Glue.
So you and I are both big Stephen King fans. And when I found out when we were at Camp Willow Run together, and talk about your deep. When I found out that you're a Stephen King fan, I couldn't believe it. Like I had this image of you in my head, which just goes to show you never judge a book by its cover, unless it's an actual book, and then totally judge it by its cover. I love that we're both Stephen King, and so I will definitely be checking out the book.
I'll send you a PDF. I'll be glad to. Certainly, I will.
I will review it on this here YouTube channel. As somebody who's myself written nonfiction of various kinds, fiction of various kinds, what was it like for you for the first time switching gears from writing marketing copy, writing nonfiction, et cetera, to writing a short story?
It was a bit painful. I did what I just said can't do. I knew that I had the inspiration for it, and I knew that in this, if I didn't just knock it out, it was not going to survive in my brain. Like if I waited 2 days to do it, it wasn't going to happen. I had the freedom. Amy had to work a couple of nights, and I thought, don't say a thing to anyone. Just knock this thing out real quick. I can't imagine the effort of a long form novel. My brain has not latched around that yet. And the story was not that. This was, as best short stories do, it was just an incident. Now, telling the world that I had done it was odd for me because I usually am pretty shameless in promotion. But then just saying, hey, I wrote a horror short story, people are like, what? And like you said, a lot of people are like, you like horror? And the same thing, I also love screaming heavy metal. Those are parts of my personality, or at least parts of my interest. But it was fun, and I was completely detached from its reception. For me, it was purely just, I want to put this out. And now the next one, I live in Fredericksburg, Virginia. The next one is based in Fredericksburg in an actual location. And we'll see what I care about that one. That one's slightly bit longer. But it was interesting. And I knew that I had this idea and this inspiration. But if I didn't do something with it in the moment, it wouldn't survive. So whether I jump back into fiction next year, I don't know. But the two efforts were a lot of fun. And I was a little sheepish about telling the world about it.
So I have a couple of things to say about that. One, as somebody who enjoys process, discipline, and straight lines, as much as I think you do, Google the snowflake method for writing a novel. You will love it. It is the most organic outlining method that I have ever come across. I'm hopefully going to be doing a workshop on it at a local makerspace in the new year.
Very cool.
That's my This is my branching out in the new year. I'm saying this out loud on my podcast to like actualize it or whatever the term is. I want to do a workshop on how to outline a novel. And this kind of like an atheist giving a sermon.
Just that.
Me talking about outline.
I love it.
But it is important. I think it is the best way. I've tried outlining. I've tried all kinds of different ways of outlining novels.
Okay.
I have a ton of unfinished.
I appreciate that. I'll figure it out.
And
thank you.
Novels. The other thing I have to say about that, about what you said, is for everybody, do what Gordon did. Step outside your comfort zone. Do that thing that is totally not the thing you ordinarily do. You know, if you're like me and you're mostly a fiction writer and you've got this idea for a nonfiction piece and it's in your wheelhouse and you have something to say the thing, especially if it's not something you do ordinarily. Because
Agreed.
We're made to be creative beings, and God made us very complex.
I found it refreshingly creative for everything else. Like it was taking 2 nights to take a break from normal marketing content creation, put my brain into something else. It was just, I felt refreshed by giving it an effort. Very much so. It was good. So, like I said, I have got this next one, which will come out whenever I decide this is the time. And then we'll just see what happens with the next one after that. But these first 2 were fun.
And have zero shame. Like, you know.
No, well, I don't. I mean, as much content as I put on social media, I have zero shame whatsoever.
Yeah, like when you put that thing out there, talk about it. You like, be like Gordon. Like he talks about everything that he does. Be like me. I talk about everything I do. Like we need, because you can't just be a once a day poster. Nope.
No, you won't pound. You'll be lost.
So tell me about what's next for Gordon Duncan.
Well, I appreciate that. Shamelessly, I published a 365-day reader this year.
Yeah, peep the thumbnail. I've got Capitalize Your Best, a fable of lessons from Sam. I've got the Capitalize Your Best reader, and I've got Glue as all part of the thumbnail for this episode.
It's been a good fourth quarter. I did write a business fable for my dad, but what's really going to direct the next year is a 365 daily reader is something I've been working on truly for 10 years. I thought it would be very Christian based at one point in time. I thought, well, I've got enough sermons, I've got enough blogs, I'm going to couple all that together and make a daily reader. But quickly I found that was just not of interest to me, and it didn't, there was nothing distinct about it. If you want to do a 365 daily readers on Romans, you can find a million of them. Yeah. Well, as I've been developing my personal coaching program, I developed an actual approach to how do we do our life. And so Capitalize Your Best is finding that thing about you that you are going to grow and develop that's distinct about you. And so in it, there's 10 pillars of capital that we all, energy capital, mind capital, like these are things we already have that we can grow and develop and build upon. And I've been collecting quotes and inspirations for years. So I started this year gathering all that together, developing it into a coherent system and writing the reader. Well, what I also started last year doing personal workshops. Everything from creating a workshop on what do you do if you're starting over at zero, or overcoming victim mentality. And that began to develop and grow. And so one of the things I'm going to do new in the next year is that in those workshops, we're going to go through run the pillars of capital. I do want to grow my personal growth platform. While the marketing business is stable, I want to put more energy into that. So those are monthly workshops that are in person. I don't do those virtual. Promoting the book. And then I took some stack and I took Facebook group and I launched my own personal platform. So it's called Capitalize Your Best Community. It's a paid platform. It's $29 a month. There's daily, weekly, and monthly coaching in there. Very, asking people to participate and be involved. It's not just me posting in there. So it's essentially like a Patreon or a school platform, but it very much invites content. So I'm trying to create that. What's created, and I'm promoting it now. So I'm inviting people into that. Gives people a chance to leave the algorithm and have the community of people they want to have in there. So that's really where I'm moving more. I'd like to do more of the personal seminars. I want to promote the online community. You're going to see me move more in a personal growth format. I've got the business pages. Those things will all continue. I'm not leaving those. But I'd like to move more into a personal growth format in 2026.
Awesome. It sounds like a full year.
I'm excited. Yeah, I've got a lot. I've got four seminars already planned for the new year, already mapped out. So for January.
Fantastic. So tell us where we can find you.
Well, I think the easiest place to find me is just on Facebook. I mean, I've got websites and all that stuff, but if you just go to Gordon Duncan on Facebook, I post on there 2-3 times a day. I rotate through running, coffee, pop culture, marketing, my family. I mean, those are really the topics I find on there. I treat Facebook like just a platform to share on multiple places. If you would like to check out my new community, just reach out to me. You can go to capitalizecoaching.com and it'll give you a launch to there. But reach out to me. I'd like for you to find me there. But really, if you just search for Gordon Duncan on any platform, I am in competition with an old Scottish bagpipe player named Gordon Duncan, but I think you'll figure out which one it is. But yeah, those are the easiest. If you want the marketing services, I'll point you in towards the company. If you want the personal growth services, but I've got, if there's a platform, I'm on it, pretty much.
Yeah, I have a former hockey player and sports writer, Scott Roche, that's out there.
Oh, really? Okay.
I overtook him on the front page of Google for a long time, and then I stopped writing for a bit, and then he overtook me. So I'm in the process of fighting him for the front page on the algorithm.
I can't do it. I mean, but for my podcast, I used to say, "Welcome to This Is Gonna Hurt Podcast," the podcast of J. Gordon Duncan. Why the J? Because I'm not a bagpipe player. There's my old joke. So I can't buy GordonDuncan.com. A lot of those platforms are taken. So jgordonduncan.com and those kind of things. But as the new platforms launch, I've got that on TikTok and all those things. But yeah, it's hard to fight those bagpipe players, man. I get it. They're out there.
And listeners, I'm going to take this opportunity to beat that drum again. Buy your domain.
Yes, buy your name. Buy your kid's name. Buy your kid, like when you name your kid, go buy the domain. So that is real estate that you want to own. And so yeah, I own way too many URLs. I'm trying not to collect any more this year. So
people give me interesting looks when I give them my email address, and they're like, "Oh, you have your own," and I'm like, "You should too."
But you should. Not that expensive.
Yeah,
it's not. But yeah, I'm excited about the new year. It's a big shift for me. Maintaining that the marketing company continues to grow and sustains us. But I think people are beginning to notice online a different shift in my conversations or a different focus. It's probably a relief. I've talked about marketing so much, but it is new. Today I posted a long article about why I talk about seizures and how that's played a part in what I'm doing. And so I'm hoping that makes an impact, but I'll have to do that over and over again for people to truly understand what I'm doing.
Well, I think that's a good aspect of yourself. It's good that you bring that aspect of yourself up as somebody who struggles with both physical and mental health issues. I think normalizing talking about that openly and honestly is encouraging for people who have similar struggles. And I applaud you.
I really have to. Yeah, I mean, at the basis, these are neurological issues for many of us. And there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of nervousness. I'm very thankful that my seizures are at the stages that they're at. They're not very noticeable. I don't have grand mal. I have what's called partial complex. So someone might notice them, but there's a lot of insecurity around that for people because, what might people think? But destigmatizing that's really important. And then, the other part is also for me, what are we doing to help ourselves? And that's very much that. As much advocacy as I have for awareness, I have as much advocacy as I have for personal health.
Yes.
We do have to do the things that contribute to our health in that area. And there really are. I mean, I'm not promising anybody solutions of curability. That'd be silly. But there are things that we can do that help our brains and help us neurologically. And that's pretty much one of the passions I have for where I'm going next year.
100%. We are our own best advocates
True.
for our health, for our well-being of spiritual, mental, physical well-being, because only we know what's going on in there. Thank you for your time, Gordon. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was a blast. Yeah, thank you.
And we'll talk.
Sounds great. Thanks, dude.
Okay, so I'm stopping recording.